While searching for random products on Etsy recently, I stumbled on something that truly caught my attention. What I have found since has led to a never-ending hole of information about a culture I never expected existed, let alone was thriving. What I found was Fun-Dip flavored cornstarch. This rose the question, why is the cornstarch flavored like the popular Wonka candy Fun-Dip? What purpose does this serve? Cornstarch is primarily used in cooking and baking as a thickening agent, and even used in laundry processes to get a nice crisp shirt out of the laundry room and into the board meeting. So again, why flavor the cornstarch? It has its purposes already, so what gives? What I found next may shock you just as much as it shocked me. People are eating cornstarch, not just in their food, no. They are eating straight cornstarch, and what's worse is that they can't stop. Hey everybody, I'm SheriffBananas, and today we are discussing the not-so-obvious culture of cornstarch consumption. What we are discussing here today isn't just eating it in your food or eating it for specific health reasons. No, what we are discussing here is an addiction to eating cornstarch, which sometimes can be due to a symptom of a condition called Pica. In this video, we will be highlighting the culture, the history, and the major health concerns surrounding cornstarch consumption. Before we get started, I just wanted to note that I am not a doctor of any kind. I simply found something wild on the internet and took it upon myself to do some research as to why these actions aren't being brought to light as dangerous more often. You yourself can choose to do this research on your own, but I've compiled hours and hours of learning about this so I could make a video to save you the trouble of falling into the batshit hole that I fell into. If you are a consumer of cornstarch and you doubt the validity of the sightings in this video, I highly suggest you do some research of your own and take sightings of information from doctors and not from other people who also consume cornstarch and think that it's totally okay. A better alternative to this is actually speaking with your primary care provider about your consumption habits, and I heavily implore you to do so. Another thing I would really like to add before we continue is while the actions talked about in this video can be a bit disturbing to some, this video is not intended as an attack on anyone. It is simply informational and nothing more. As a creator, I do not condone anyone trying to find, go after, or harass any of the people that may be in this video. Now let's go ahead and get into it. As I said before, when I first happened upon the Fun-Dip flavored cornstarch, I was a bit in shock. Once I saw the listing on Etsy, I decided to take a look at the reviews on the product. That was when it hit me. The people buying this aren't using it for baking. They are eating it. They are eating it straight up. Straight up cornstarch. This made me wonder, well, why the fuck are people doing that? So like any curious person, I turned to Google. This unraveled into even more questions. After a few minutes, I found all sorts of things, which we will get to, but I really wanted to know more about the culture itself and maybe even see if I could find its origins. Let's talk about the culture. It appears from my research that while eating cornstarch seems like a new phenomena, it is in fact not the case. Through the process of digging through testimonials of consumption of cornstarch, while it occurs worldwide, it seems to be quite embedded in the cultures of rural southern regions of the USA. Some people have said in the cultures they have seen that do this, it's just as casual as chewing tobacco, drinking a beer, or smoking. Some doctors believe cornstarch became a replacement for consuming clay, something that many cultures have dabbled in. Cornstarch became more readily available than clay in the US and thus became a popular choice as a replacement. One doctor claims it's not a strange phenomena, it's an oral satisfaction. Another shocking thing about the culture is that currently, it is all over the place. You can find these people consuming cornstarch all over the internet. The two most popular places to find these communities seem to be TikTok and YouTube. YouTube searches of eating cornstarch led me to something that, while I couldn't look away, left me concerned enough to make this video. What I found was cornstarch mukbangs. Mukbangs are usually a video, especially one that is live streamed, that features a person eating a large quantity of food and addressing the audience. This trend started in South Korea in the early 2000s and has led to the fame of some content creators like Nikado Avocado. Mukbangs now raise health concerns for the people who undergo the task of consuming too much food, especially when the foods are considered unhealthy. In the mukbangs I found of cornstarch consumption, people, predominantly women, set out trays of an array of cornstarch brands, types, and consistencies on food platters and in serving dishes, wine glasses, and even shot glasses. One video creator I found even has a squirt bottle, usually used for condiments, filled with cornstarch, bedazzled with rhinestones that read Argo, a popular cornstarch brand. For a side note, there are a lot of these videos that are being tagged with hashtag ASMR and being made on the side by ASMR content creators. Most of these videos boast a large number of views, some of them in the millions. Scrolling into the comments section of these is like walking into a utopia, not a negative or questioning comment in sight. When you start playing one of these videos, what comes next is generally immediate discomfort, bewilderment, amazement, and shortly thereafter that, a lot of the times, concern. My thoughts began to swirl, and I asked myself, is this healthy? This can't be healthy. And as it turns out, it's not. Let's get down to the bare bones and talk about the health concerns. Something that was cited by the New York Times is that in 1977, Best Foods, which owns Argo Starch, began warning on its label that the product was unfit to eat. The company also started making starch in powdered form, not as appealing as the cubes. Today, the problem is virtually non-existent. Except, that's not the case. It's not virtually non-existent. And there definitely isn't enough awareness floating around to keep more people from falling into this strange addiction. The deeper I dug, and kept digging, eventually through the veil of the deceitful utopia, I started seeing glimpses of reality. Sometimes that reality ended in denial, but I still found it mildly relieving. It really seemed like the people consuming it wanted to keep others in the dark about the risks, while occasionally a commenter that was not a consumer would chime in, let them know the risks, only to get berated by consumers that would reply with things like, if you don't like it, don't watch. It isn't your business what this person does. And while it's true that it's no one's business, that doesn't mean other people aren't worried about said person's well-being. After watching dozens, if not hundreds of videos, more and more I was starting to see text under the videos by the creator saying they don't condone the consumption of cornstarch. Many also had disclaimers that they do not swallow the cornstarch, but when you watch the video, some of them don't show them swallowing it, but a lot of the times, they do. Some even appeared to have started putting brief warning labels on the intros of the videos themselves, saying that it's not safe to consume cornstarch and that the cornstarch consumption in their videos is for entertainment purposes only. I know everyone out there needs to make a living. Make that bag wherever the fuck you can. But if you don't condone something and recognize it as unsafe, why continue to promote it as entertainment at all? If they know the risks, why not put an end to it? Why not make videos highlighting the dangers? Why not try to help the people in the community that you've become a part of? I did manage to find one small YouTube creator who tried to do just that. Let's take a look.
What cornstarch eaters don't tell y'all, I'm gonna tell you. Because for some reason, they don't want to share the side effects of eating cornstarch. And this video gonna be real sweet and real quick, real fast. Okay. First of all, for one, I don't swallow cornstarch anymore. I used to swallow the cornstarch when I first started eating it about 4 or 5 months ago. I used to swallow it, but I noticed the effects I was getting from it. For one, when I was swallowing the cornstarch, I felt really dizzy, really weak. My stomach was killing me at the top of my stomach. It was just hurting so bad. One night I had to crawl up, barely could make it up the steps, felt like less of energy. It fucked with your sleep. Excuse my language, but if you're a cornstarch eater, you know this shit fucks with your sleep.
As far as who these symptoms affect, we can take a look at the culture and do a bit of guesswork. The internet culture itself seems to be wildly dominated by women, though it is true that men also take part in the consumption of cornstarch. Another surprising factor among a lot of the people who consume cornstarch is pregnancy cravings. A majority percentage of pregnant women who are found to be consuming cornstarch end up getting diagnosed with anemia, an iron deficiency. Eating cornstarch can also interfere with the body's ability to produce iron, causing anemia. However, these diagnoses are not linked just to pregnant women. It turns out many people who eat cornstarch, if they bring it up to their doctor, are found to have either anemia or a zinc deficiency, which in turn can lead to the disorder called pica. Pica is what causes people to want to eat things like cornstarch, clay, dirt, sand, and even hair. You may have already heard about it on shows like Strange Addiction. Adolescents and pregnant women are at a higher risk for developing pica. If you think you have pica, consult with a medical professional who will be able to administer blood tests to check if you have a zinc or an iron deficiency. Your healthcare provider can also see if there's a link between your cravings for cornstarch and pica. They can also help you find ways to overcome your addictions, such as therapy. Now that we've covered the main risks, let's talk about the other risks. And there are a shit ton. Cooking cornstarch can take away some of the risks. However, it can still affect your health negatively, such as, but not limited to, weight gain, high blood pressure, cancer, anemia, constipation, ulcers, stomach issues, tooth decay, and diabetes. In addition to all of that, the consumption of large quantities of raw cornstarch, specifically by pregnant women, can cause pregnancy and delivery complications. The excessive consumption of pure cornstarch causes elevated blood glucose levels, which can lead to abnormalities in the baby's developmental process, premature delivery, C-section delivery, and high birth weight. Considering that pregnant women are at a higher risk for developing pica, this is a major issue that not a lot of people talk about. It's important that people know the amount of risks that could affect them and their children. A lot of the die-hard cornstarch eaters also think that if they don't swallow it, it can't hurt them. This is false because it can actually cause dental damage and make tooth decay more of an issue, as well as make your teeth more sensitive due to enamel decline. While most large quantities of cornstarch consumption is straight up just bad for you, there are some medical exceptions I found that seem to have saved lives. For instance, some people use cornstarch as a form of treatment for GSD, glycogen storage disease, a rare condition, and people with reactive hypoglycemia. It can also be helpful for people with low glucose levels who are diabetic. Generally, however, it seems like most people using it to help with health concerns are told to mix it with water to consume, not eat it straight. One woman by the name of Heather, who suffers from GSD, drinks cornstarch because she has to. Heather must stick to a strict diet with no fruit, no milk, and no candy. Her liver cannot process the sugars. She suffers from what is called glycogen storage disease, or GSD. But Heather does not eat the cornstarch. She mixes it with water and drinks it to consume it every few hours, because if she doesn't, she'll literally fucking die. Other people with this extremely rare condition also turn to consuming cornstarch in this way, as alternatives can be much more complicated. After all this research, after everything I've seen, all the testimonials and comments I have read, I was just left very worried about all the people eating cornstarch. A common sentiment shared among my peers. If you are consuming cornstarch, I urge you to talk to your doctor. I know, especially in the United States, that healthcare isn't something everyone has access to, but there may be resources in your area that can help you get low cost or free appointments, as well as healthcare plans that are long term. If you can't get to a doctor, try opening up to a friend or family member about your situation. They may be able to lend a shoulder or even some assistance. If you know someone who is a cornstarch consumer, like I said before, don't go after strangers and harass them. This is for people you actually know. Talk to them about it. Open that door for communication and see if they would be interested in talking to a healthcare professional. After all, this is an addiction, and many of us in day-to-day life have struggled with addiction. It may not be so obscure as this, but chances are you've been there, and anyone who's struggling needs a helping hand. Anyways, that's all for this video. I know this is a very different video from what I normally do. I really just wanted to make something to be informative and help spread the word about health concerns that revolve around this, as well as help answer any questions you might have had that I also had before embarking on this journey myself. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you feel like it. It's your world, baby. I'm just living in it. Fuck. Well, everybody, I am out for the day. I'm SheriffBananas. Thanks for tuning in. Praise Potassium and stay ripe. Every intro I do is a goddamn train wreck. That was an outro. Also a train wreck.